But we're here today. We made it through, and we're going to talk about the Crystal McCroy Jones case. Now, by show of hands, and I know we've talked about this before, but I want to talk about it again because I did spend my time on my phone looking at the documents and reading notes about the differences, and then having other programs try to find all the differences for me. Good morning, good morning. Chastity says, hey girl, hey. Jeannie Adderson's in the house. Word? Jeannie Adderson, how are you feeling? Jeannie's my implant buddy. Hi. We already have 87 souls in the room. Come on in. Let me know where you're coming in from, what you're thinking about doing. Are you at work? Are you at the house? Are you starting your garden like some people I saw in here? By the way, I still forgot to water that dagnab plant. She's going to kill me. The plant my best friend's got me is going to die. Starting the garden today. JoJo says it's raining. Good morning, MJ. I'm hot flashing. Bridget says tornado and high winds there. We have high winds here. I noticed the winds was really picking up. Hot in Alabama, oh Lord. You know, I lived in Alabama for 10 years, and one of the things I won't ever forget is the humidity and how you feel like you can't even breathe during the summer down there. It's really horrible. Lisa B. Swain says, finally spring weather in Canada. We have 91 souls in here. Let's see if we can get over 100 people this morning. I think we can do it. Right, Miss Holly. I about died down there. Tennessee's a little bit better as far as the humidity goes, but it still gets here on hot days. Oh, Nancy's in beautiful Virginia. Beautiful. Redbird, I see you. Miss Priss says it's been storming all night in Oklahoma. Hey, Cassie, all the way from Texas in the house. Flowery Branch, Georgia. Well, Susan, that sounds like a beautiful place to be. Flowery Branch. Cajun Honey, I see you in here. It's good to see you. I hadn't seen you in a hot minute. I hope you're doing well. We're just getting started, giving TikTok a minute to get the notifications out if it sends any at all. I have to tell you, I was in a Big Creators live the other day, and they had a full panel, and normally they have, 400 or 500 people, and they had 120. So clearly this, I don't know, I guess people all around the world just stop and liking lives? I don't know. Chastity got her notification right away. Well, that's good. I was expecting it to not notify anybody. Lady in Red is using her stickers. Nancy says she got hers. Christy says, I didn't get one. Well, the thing to remember is that I'm live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you can just remember that time, maybe you can hop on and be like, I want to see if she's... Well, I'll say between 10:30 and 10:45 because sometimes I'm late. Amy TV didn't. Tina did. Lady in Red did. Nicole says, I'm in PA. I found you through Aubrey's case. I got a notification immediately. Hello, Nicole. Welcome. Welcome. I hope you gave me a follow, Nicole. Thank you so much for being here. I've taken a lot of heat in the Aubrey Wu case. I mean, I'm getting, messages and people are doing videos about me. Um, they're throwing down on me. I don't know why, but listen, I've already been through the Micah Miller case and I can take about just about anything. And so, well, they're saying, oh, where are you getting your sources? Well, how do you know? Well, I have bunches of sources. I do most of my work on the phone talking. Melissa's in PA as well. Right, Darla. It's called doing my job. Right, Chas? That's what I say. Yeah. They'll comment, but I don't see none of them in here throwing down. Somebody has to speak up for Aubrey Wu here. PEY, Tens Mom says Pennsylvania here too. Nicole, you said it best. It'll come out. Her path along and throughout the United States will come out. And then I will go back and say, see. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it. We don't know. My desk is a mess. I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't turn the big light on. I have another big light. Whoa. But I thought maybe this is better. You guys can see the sign better and you can see what's on the TV better. If you like this lighting better, let me know. I can turn the big light on, my big professional light. But I noticed that it makes me, like all the lights dry my eyes out, and I'm like this in a video. Breaking news tonight. Bombshell. So. Thank you, Nicole. Listen, I know the Karen Reed trial is on right now. What are we, like day 6? We're day 6 in the Karen Reed trial. Attorney Allie shared a video with me yesterday, and it really was compelling about the cell phone moving after she had left to go back to the house. So that was some interesting. Nicole says, I love Allie. I do too. She's a really bright, super cool young lady. She's really awesome. Good morning, Christy. How are you? Thank you, Lady in Red. I wore blue today. 114 souls in the room. We done it. We're over 100 and we have 30,000 likes already. I'm going to challenge you. I don't know. Is it likes that get people in the room? I mean, is that what does it? Hi. Hi, Leslie. How are you? Sadie Lynn. I love your name. My cat's name's Sadie. And she says tapping, tapping, tapping is a clapping. Wisconsin Mama shared the live. Oh, comments. Oh, yes. Well, how cold or hot is it where you're from in your neck of the woods? More likes. Throw your heart me's. It's not giving me a flash go, so I don't think we're going to have one today. So go ahead and throw your heart me's. I heard that helps too. 63 degrees in Oklahoma. Well, that sounds lovely because it's 74 already where Wendy lives. I mean, Wendy Mindy. What did I say? Oh, Lord. Hey, Butterfly Angel, thank you for your heart me's. Thank you, guys. And thank you for the Tina. Grammy says Texas, Illinois. 74 there in Pennsylvania. Oh, that's pretty good for the north. Between the comments, hearts, and likes. Comments, likes, and heart me's. Comments, likes, and heart me's. Oh, thank you for your heart me, Lady in Red. Mid-80s in LA. Holy cow. Yeah, are you working today or are you on vacation or retired? I'll update my script. 73, Southwest Georgia. It was in the 80s yesterday in Ohio. Darla got sunburn. Ooh. Yeah, Chaz says, don't forget to claim your points once you send the heart me. You got to claim them points. Leslie says it'll be 85 in Tampa. Kimmy. Ooh. What'd Kimmy say? Oh, thank you for your heart, JoJo. What did Kimmy say? We just had a storm roll through and we just went from 71 to 61. That's a big drop. My phone keeps tilting forward. Killing Me Smiles wants to know, how do I claim the hearts? Robin says it's currently 76 in Michigan. That's good for the north. I want to live in a place where it's always between 70 and 75. And it never goes below 70 and it never goes above 75. Killing Me Smiles, click the heart me and it will say claim. Next to her name, it's one coin to click orange her. Hit the heart next to Steph's picture. Heart me, please heart me. Oh my goodness. All right, we have 113 souls in the room. We're doing good. Popular. You're gonna be popular. Thank you for that. Thank you for the popular vote. Hey. Ooh, Silent Watcher 420. I see you. Thank you for your heart me. Good morning, Angela. Enlightened Jess. Oh, I love your name and your little icons. Make sure you renew that subscription, Enlightened Jess. Oh, Grammy's like, get a move on. I got to get to work. Okay. Yes, let's get started. All right. So you guys, by show of hands, how many are familiar with the Crystal McCroy Jones case? This is what I worked on yesterday. This is what I looked at yesterday. And I want to have Crystal's sister Jana back on. But in the meantime, I wanted to point out a slew of things that I saw and that she already had a list of things that are not right in this timeline. And it's overwhelming. At least 100 different ones, 100 different discrepancies and inconsistencies in the timeline. Yes, Butterfly Angel, I will recap. Let me go to my other set of notes. You know, the older you get, the more notes you have to have. Hello. Aging gracefully here. Thank you for the hashtag FYP. Does that help? I hope so. All right. Thank you, guys. We have 49,000 likes. Let's go ahead and have a go of 75,000 likes. It's taken a hot minute to pull up my notes here, but just from my head, well, here we go. It's going to pull up, and it always has the date wrong. I don't know why it does that. But this is February the 9th, 2023. February the 9th, 2023. I'll read you the briefing that I saved so that we can get familiar, and then I'm going to go through this case, okay, hair by hair. Even if we have to make it a part 2, we're going to do this. This is important to me because there's no, in my opinion, Yes. Okay. We're going to talk about some things if this goes to trial that I feel the defense would point out that may cause a problem in conviction, but it doesn't make the facts change. And they're overwhelming to me. And I'll give you some reasons why jurors may find her husband, Tony Jones, guilty of taking her life. We'll talk about those different scenarios. But as a recap, Crystal McCroy Jones lost her life on February the 9th, 2023. There are so in this case, the biggest question is they deemed her a self-unaliving, self-exiting of the earth on its own accord. I'm trying to, you know what I'm talking about, like Micah. But there's problems with the husband's alibis and timelines and different things. And that's the part we're going to go over. They still haven't reopened the investigation. It's still classified as a self-unaliving. Okay. I need 15,000 cell phones. It's in a parish in Louisiana. Let's talk about that morning. Okay, let's start there. February 9th, 2023. 43-year-old Crystal McCroy Jones. Okay. This is going to be in the West Carroll Parish area in Louisiana. She wakes up feeling ill. She doesn't feel good. So she calls the doctor to make a doctor's appointment, and the doctor's appointment, I believe, was for 2:30 or so, but I'd have to check the records on that. But she never shows up to the appointment. And that day, her husband, Tony Jones, he said he had a feeling that she may do something, though he left loaded pew-pews at the house as he went to run his very detailed, thank you for the heart, unconfirmed timeline running around everywhere like a chicken with its head cut off. Okay? So he sends his friend, we'll get to that exact timeline, but he sends his friend, a deputy, Chuck Harris, to go check on his wife. And his neighbor goes in. He directs him to the back bedroom where he finds Crystal in the bed, unalive with a GSW to the right side of the head, so they say. And there's a pillow over her head. The authorities took 1 hour and 45 minutes to classify this a self-unaliving. 1 hour and 45 minutes. Below the pillow. As you know, Sister Jana has been fighting for justice. She feels like her brother-in-law, Tony, has something to do with this based on where he went and who he spoke to and the timeline that morning. And that's what I want to go over. I've seen the crime scene photos, which, by the way, were taken with a cell phone and not a regular, like, official camera. That's weird to me, first of all. Who takes crime scene photos with a cell phone? please. I'm going to start with the crime scene, actually. So what happened was there was it dug into the wall. Like they had to get a shell casing out of the wall. Okay? But then they said the spent shell casing was not found by 5 sets of law enforcement eyes. So they go in the room. The police are called. Tony's on his way home conveniently. We'll talk about that later. He's on his way home so much, he's 10 minutes away, so far away, that he was 10 minutes away when he called his friend a deputy to go check on her instead of just doing it himself. So they go in, they look at the crime scene. They can't find a shell casing. The neighbor is a deputy. So Tony Jones, Wendy, who was 10 minutes away from the house, was concerned about his wife and called in a welfare check, not to the police. He called his neighbor, who's a deputy, and said, and his friend, said, go over there and check and see if she's okay. So we're going to start out with the missing shell casing. Missing. But conveniently, Crystal's husband, Tony, found the missing shell casing approximately 7 days later. We're going to talk about what time he called because that's important too. We'll get to that. Okay. Tony claimed he found the casing on the makeup table, stating it was either lying out on the open or maybe lodged under something. And then Sheriff Scott Matthews stated that the casing could be plainly seen lying out on the open on the makeup table in the initial crime scene photos. He later admitted that they did not search the top of the makeup stand like they should have. Here's the problem. I've seen that photo. I've zoomed in and I've looked around. The photo taken by a cell phone at the crime scene, there is no shell casing on that desk. It's not there. I have the photo. Are you talking about the photo of the makeup stand? I have it. I probably can show it to you. It don't show nothing bad. I have it. I have it. Hannah, wait till you hear the rest of it. Oh my gosh, we are almost at 80,000. We did hit it. 80,000 likes and 136 souls in the room. You guys are freaking amazing. You know how to do it and how to rock it out. Okay, I cannot find the photo. What did I do with it? I do have it though. I'll have to get Crystal to resend it, but I thought I had it in this folder and I don't. Paul says, good work, good work, good work. I do have a picture of that. It is not on the table. Okay. Attorney Alley's in the house. No, it's not in Discord, but I'll ask Crystal if I can put that one in Discord because it doesn't show anything bad, right? It just shows the makeup table. You know, Jana says it's not in there too. Photos of the makeup table that were turned over to attorneys also don't show it. And after finding the casing, Tony Jones reportedly told Crystal's brother Dane, "Please don't make a big fuss out of me finding this shell casing to Alan Irby as a favor to me," which raised a red flag for the brother. He said, Tony says, "Please don't make a big fuss out of me finding this shell casing to Alan Irby as a favor to me." Who says that? First of all, who owes you a favor? And second of all, why would you want to not make that a big deal? It would be a big deal. It'd be a big deal to me. Mm-hmm. The first thing I would do, it says a commenter, is I would make a big deal out of it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Isn't he one of the attorneys? Who is that? Alan guy? I thought he was one of the attorneys. If anybody knows, Allie, if you know who that is, Alan Irk. Mm-hmm. Me too. I thought it was the attorney. I think it is. All right. Now, we've talked about the shell casing not being there versus and blah, blah, blah. Okay, we're through that. Now I want to talk about the projectile. We've not even got to Tony's fake timeline. We are talking about the projectile right now. We're going on to that. Wendy says, did he take a pic of where he supposedly found it before he turned it in? No, he did not, hun. He just picked it up and put it in him's pocket and said, here, I found it. He did not. All right. Now, let's talk about the projectile. Now, remember, she's in a robe. She's ready to go. She's got her makeup on. She's got her doctor's appointment at 2:30. Okay, so I get ready about an hour before I have to go somewhere, depending on where it is, hour and a half. So let's keep the noon to 1 o'clock hour in your mind. Okay. According to photo labels, the projectile, the slug, was labeled as being recovered the day after Crystal's death on February the 10th, 2023. These photos are labeled as screenshots from a phone, like I said, and not an actual crime scene photo taken from a crime scene camera. The projectile itself is not photographed actually until 5 days later on February the 14th, 2023, according to a photo label. So they got the projectile And I don't know, did it just lay around somewhere? Did somebody put it in their desk drawer? Anyway, 5 days later, they decide to take a picture of it. The police report states that the projectile was recovered while the coroner was on scene. However, Coroner Lewis Carter stated in his report that no slug, to my knowledge, was recovered. I want to listen to this again. The police report states that the projectile was recovered while the coroner was on the scene. And the coroner says, I didn't get no slug. Holy cannoli. We have 100,000 likes and 144 souls in this room. You guys are doing it. Thank you, just being in the moment. Thank you. 100,000 likes already? Dang. Let's do it. I don't know. Maybe we'll make it to 200,000. Holy cow. For now, let's see if we can make it to 125,000. You guys rock it. You're the best followers. Thank you for tapping for me. That's amazing. So what do y'all think about that? The evidence for ballistics testing, the gun, the casing, the bullet, none of that was turned over to the North Carolina Criminalistics Laboratory until March the freaking 27th, 2023. That's a month and a half after the event. Then they go, oh yeah, here, test them, I guess. This happened 32 days after a meeting with Sheriff Matthews where he stated the ballistics test had already been started. Why is he lying? Did he lie? Or is he just not doing his job? So I give that one an F. Okay. Are y'all sitting down? Are you holding your britches? Let's talk about the timeline. I want to pull it apart, hair by hair. You see, Jana got the computer. She got into the computer. And she was able to I would say track Tony's movements according to his Google timeline, which is somehow attached to his phone. I think I'm not familiar with the Google stuff. I'm an Apple girl. But let's start about when he told police he left. Tony told police that he left home shortly after 8 a.m. Google timeline data shows that he left at 8:06 a.m. Thank you, Chastity. And in the police interview, if you've listened to that with Tony, the short one, where he's not actually interrogated over anything, that one, he said that he arrived. Now, remember, Tony's a handyman. He works on fridges. He's a handy maintenance man at the school where his daughter goes, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So he can go fix the things, okay? So he's got an appointment with a person named Darren Billings around 8:45 a.m. That's the scheduled appointment. Darren's got his fridge needs fixing and whatnot. Okay, so he's going to Darren's house. Darren said that Tony did arrive to affix the things, but he didn't get there until somewhere between 9 and 9:30 a.m. But the Google timeline shows that Tony arrived at Darren's at 8:54 a.m. So I'm going to say Darren saying sometime after 9 or whatever he said could be consistent with the 8:54 a.m. because if somebody arrives at 8:54, you're probably going to say, well, they got here about 9. So he gave them a different time, 8:45 versus 8:54 that he actually got there. That's well, if you round it up, a 15-minute difference. Chastity says it will tell you every movement and where you stop and all that information. So that's what she used. This is what the sister has used to put together this timeline. So he's at Darren's, he does his thing, and then Tony says he talked to Crystal on the phone starting at 10:06 a.m. for 15 to 20 minutes. Now, I don't know about you, but when I make a phone call, I do not remember that I called somebody at 10:06 or 3:04 or 7:08. I talked to him about 7. I talked to him about 3. So that was weird. He stated that he talked to her for 15 to 20 minutes, but the data will show the call only lasted a few minutes. So he's filling time. He's filling time. Right, figure me out. Exactly. To fit his narrative. And Tony also told police that Crystal sounded normal on the phone. Tony told Crystal's brother Dane that Crystal sounded as if she was asleep because it took her a couple of rings to answer. So which is it? Did she sound normal? Or did she sound sleepy like she had just woken up? Which is it? Which is it, Tony? Tony's police statement did not mention getting a haircut. He didn't tell the police that he stopped to get a haircut. The police report written by Alan Irby states that after depositing a check at 10:51 a.m., Tony got a haircut and then went to the bakery barn. All right, so let's talk about the timeline. He deposited a check at 10:51 a.m. And then he got a haircut. And then he went to the bakery barn to eat. But the Google timeline data shows that Tony was at the sheriff's office from 10:53 a.m. until 11:13 a.m., making a haircut between the bank and the sheriff's office stop seem unlikely. Why on earth did he stop by the police station that morning? He was there at the sheriff's office from 10:53 a.m. until 11:13 a.m. The Google timeline data places Tony's location there, proven between those times. But Tony didn't mention that he was there to them. It wasn't mentioned in the interviews. He done maintenance work for them, although it is unknown if any maintenance work was scheduled for that morning. And if it was, what a great alibi. He did. Tony claimed that after checking their daughter out of school around 2:45 p.m., because he was there already doing maintenance and work on the high school, so he decided to go ahead and check her out. Here's the problem I have with that. The problem I have with that is it seems to me it might be a way to keep the daughter from finding the mom when she got off the school bus, if he already knew that she had passed away. Just keep that thought in your mind. But he told police he picked his daughter up at 2:45 p.m. and then they went to Sonic to eat across the street from the martial arts studio. Remember, him and his wife own the martial arts studio where they have classes, karate classes. So he says, I picked my daughter up from school. We went to Sonic and then we went over to the martial arts studio. Problem? He went to the Walmart Supercenter where he stayed until 4:11 p.m. Why on earth would you tell somebody, I'm at my martial arts studio, when the data shows that you were at Walmart? I don't think so. Figure me out. Not to my knowledge either. Anyway. So he's somewhere that shows the timeline shows different. And then Tony claimed he called Crystal's doctor's office around 3:45 p.m. to see if she had shown up for her 2:30 p.m. appointment. But the Google data shows that he actually didn't call them until 4:16 p.m. 30 minutes after he actually said he called. Right. Why wouldn't he just go home, Chastity? Why would you call the doctor's office to see if she hadn't shown up? Why wouldn't, if you were that worried, why wouldn't you go home? See, he also said that she was suffering from depression, and that was the reason she was going to the doctor that day at 2:30. But then why do you leave loaded weapons and leave her there all day, and then you're worried about her, so you do everything but go home right away? You're trotting around, making alibis, going by the sheriff's office. You're, going to the Walmart, calling the doctor's office. He was 10 minutes from home. Why didn't he just drive home and check on her? Tony claimed he stayed on the phone with Deputy Harris the entire time Harris was in the house. This is the neighbor, Deputy Harris, his neighbor, that he had go in to check on her while he was sitting in the Walmart parking lot. In the Walmart parking lot at the same time that he told police he was at his martial arts studio. Tony claimed he stayed on the phone with Deputy Harris the entire time Harris was in the house. But that can't be true because Deputy Harris's written statement indicates he called Tony back at 4:41 p.m. to tell him that Crystal was deceased. The Google timeline shows that he was at an undetermined address in Oak Grove from 4:11 until 4:37 p.m. 37 p.m. Nicole Snyder says he's guilty, can't charge in my mind. Did he try calling her at all to check on her? No. He called and said he talked to her. And he said it took a couple of rings, and she said that he said when she answered, she sounded like she'd been asleep, and he'd ask her where she's at. She said, I'm in the living room. And that's particular to ask where your spouse is at inside the house. That's not, are you in the kitchen? Like, where are you? Oh, I'm in the living room. And that was the only time that they had talked, according to him. Okay. We're going to talk more about all of these in detail. But before we do that, let's just skip over to the autopsy report. Surely to ever-loving God, all of this chaos, surely somebody got the autopsy right. Maybe they did their job. Let's find out. The first thing that's wrong is Crystal's name is misspelled as Crystal with an H. And they finally changed that on December 28th, 2023. So they spelled her name wrong. They put her birthday down as May the 17th, 2019. When it is May the 17th, 1979. So they screwed her birthday up. The time that Crystal's body was found was originally typed as 10:35. No AM, no PM in the coroner's report, but it was later crossed out with a black marker and changed to a handwritten time of 5:05 PM. A crime scene photo shows a clock that had the time of 5:02 p.m. So the family believes the original time of 10:35 a.m. may support a scenario where Tony knew that she was dead earlier. So they got the time wrong, thanks to the clock in the photo. The report also stated that Crystal's spine showed no obvious old fractures or abnormalities. I can never say that word. It's so hard. It's a big old fancy word. So they also failed to see the spinal injury that she had gotten from a car wreck 12 years ago. Didn't see that. The pathologist noted that they do not examine posterior vertebrae bodies unless informed beforehand. The reason they wasn't informed beforehand is because the police department's whole investigation lasted an hour and a half. That's why. I'm not sure what kind of clock. I'll have to go back and look at the photos, Tina. The initial report stated that her reproductive organs were unremarkable, failing to recognize that Crystal had undergone a full hysterectomy less than a year before her death. The correction was made in the amended report in December 2023. The family shouldn't even have to do an amended report. This is the sloppiest autopsy report I've ever seen. Thought Micah's was sloppy. Thank you, Mama Luke. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. The report failed to mention bruising observed by her family on her inner thighs and wrist before the viewing. The pathologist attributed this to post-mortem lividity, the settling of blood after death. In an email, a conclusion contested by the family who saw clear bruising before she was moved. Where have we heard this before? In what other case, what are we dealing with in the other case? In Micah's case. This is in Louisiana, Speedy. The pathologist stated there was no bruising on her inner thighs or waist. Bruising requires circulation, making it impossible to occur post-mortem. And here's what I'm saying. Here's what I'm saying. We saw this in Micah Miller's case, where are they bruises or are they pulling? Is it pulling or is it bruises? Well, pulling will be a much darker in color, more purple in color. And bruising will be lighter. Pulling is like a violet color to me, and bruising happens when in circulation. See, I have a bruise on my head right there where I hit it coming up in my closet, hit a rack that I'm not used to the new closet. Yeah, so there's a clear difference in those. And I've seen the photos, and those are bruises. Okay, I've seen Crystal's photos, and those are bruises, in my personal opinion. But here's what's going to throw you down on the ground, rolling in anger. Are you ready? A photo at the crime scene, a crime scene photo taken on the cell phone, shows Crystal with no fingernail, a completely missing fingernail. Told no one. Found at the funeral home by the family. The family goes to the funeral home and they said, hey, where's the finger? There's a missing fingernail over here. So the pathologist steps up and says, oh, it must have been lost during the autopsy. It didn't make it to the autopsy because it was gone before the police got there at her house. Where is the fingernail? Somebody got scratched that night. Yes, Ruby Ann. Yes, it could still be in the house. The fingernail was missing off of Crystal's left ring finger, by the way. Her wedding ring finger. The section for marks and wounds stated none. I'm going to say that again. The section on the autopsy report for marks and wounds said none. I'm about to throw down on this autopsy person right now. How do you have no wounds if it's a self-inflicted GSW? Jesus come down and perform a miracle right there, did he? Made it look like she didn't have any wounds, did he? The probable cause of death, completely missing the word gunshot altogether. The personal history section failed to know a previous overdose attempt from 11 years prior. Left that blank. The report listed diseases Crystal did not have, including atrial fibrillation, seizures, diabetes, diarrhea, and pneumonia. The sister is able to prove that her sister had none of those conditions. The initial report described liver mortis, pooling of blood. We talked about that. As a fixed anterior and posterior torso, which is inconsistent with Crystal being found lying on her back, suggesting that the body may have been moved after death. The liver mortis status was amended in December 2020 freaking 3. Right, Nicole? Nicole says, did they autopsy the right person? Talking about being scared if you go in the hospital, somebody will give you the wrong surgery. Do we ever think about getting the wrong autopsy? Now we've got evidence, inconsistencies, the pulling being inconsistent with her lying on her back. Pulling don't pull forward, honey. It pulls toward gravity. Can't. Cremated. Sound familiar? The toxicology report sent via public records request had no identifying information for Crystal and was missing pages 1 and 2. Only page 3 was provided of the toxicology report. And it was reportedly not the same toxicology report seen by Dane and Jana at the district attorney meeting. Remember, where they told him that they found where she had Benadryl in her system, 1,300 milliliters, if I can recall. That number might be wrong. I'm trying to pull it from my memory, but it's an extensive amount that wouldn't even allow a horse to stand up. 1,200. Thank you, Chastity. 1,200. So if you put that 1,200 milliliters in your body of Benadryl, then do you have the wherewithal to now you've already gotten ready, you've got your robe on, you got your makeup done, you about to go out the door you about to go out the door to the damn doctor's office, and then you look at yourself and say, you know what? I'm just going to drink 5,000 bottles of Benadryl and go in there and get a loaded weapon. And I'm going to lay down on my bed in my robe on my back. And then I'm going to put a pillow over my head, and then I'm going to pull the trigger, and then the pew-pew is still going to be in my hand when they find me. Here's the problem with that. They stated that she had some sort of condition in her wrist that made her wrist a limpy. If the wrist is a limpy, why is the gun still in her hand? Was it placed there? Yes, Butterfly Angel. Pillow over her head. Pew-pewed through the pillow. All why on so much Benadryl so much. I can't even fathom that much. The toxicology report is really a controversy in this because of them not stating in the initial report when they found out the toxicology, first of all, that it was in there. Second of all, that pages 1 and 2 are missing. Not only did they wait over a month to do the ballistic testings like I just announced, standard procedures like gunshot residue testing and DNA analysis were not mentioned or followed in the investigation. The sources state no GSR test was done. DNA isn't mentioned as not done. It's not mentioned as not done, but it has not been done. according to the family. So you've got a crime scene. They did not even do the standard procedural. They didn't do a thing. They walked in and said, oh, it looks like this. Let's go ahead and just write this down as it is. And we're just going to go on with our day. No DNA. They didn't examine other rooms. Fewer than 40 photographs were taken of the scene, which is absurd. They had a family dog who they let walk around in the crime scene. Let the dog in. There's a photograph, a crime scene photograph that a crime scene expert took on their cell phone of the dog in the bed with Crystal, and they're letting the dog lay in the bed, and they're letting the dog walk all over the crime scene. The dog is going in and out. So we got crime scene contamination by a dog. All right, Kimmy. The police didn't even interview any neighbors to see if they had heard a gunshot. Did they see anything? Did anybody come and go? They didn't interview one neighbor, not one. The police say no foul play. The family says, look at the bruising and the missing fingernail. The firearm found in Crystal's hand was misidentified as a Ruger LC9 instead of an EC9 in the ballistics report, so they couldn't even get what kind of gun it was right. What kind of gun it was right. Tina says plenty of foul play. Nicole says corrupt. Sorry, that wasn't the lawyer. It's the chief deputy, Alan Irby. Not the lawyer, chief deputy, Alan Irby. He had reportedly handled the case, had known Tony Jones for over 20 years. So no wonder Tony said, don't make a big deal about me finding that shell casing to Alan Irby, who is a deputy, not a lawyer. Because I was like, why would the lawyer write the police report? But so it's the deputy, so I'm sorry I got that wrong. A 20-year relationship? Don't make it a big deal? Sheriff Matthews says, I've not been friends with him for 20 years. I've only known him for a year. So Sheriff Matthews says he couldn't have known Deputy Allen for 20 years because I've only known him for a year. That's what he said. The coroner reports state he was met by Deputy David Vaut, not investigator Alan Irby, who family believed was handling the case. David's name was reportedly never mentioned to the family by the sheriff at all. Why is that? Sheriff Matthews denied that an exact time of death could be determined and disputed the 11 a.m. time frame listed on Crystal's certificate. Because only the pathologist does, even though the coroner signed the certificate. He called the time ludicrous. How does he know? District Attorney stated that Crystal's death was immediate and being on the phone or hearing a pew-pew is not a crime, which the family felt dismissed their concerns and didn't explain the inconsistency of Tony claiming he couldn't reach her. Investigators said that they told the family that they sent the clothing and the bedding to the pathologist. The pathologist stated that comforter was not received. Only a blood-soiled sheet that was thrown away, and Crystal's robe and underwear were sent back with the body. So, can anybody else in here process? Can somebody help me process this? You have a crime scene and you send the robe, which has probably got the most evidence on it, back to the husband. You send it back to him. Why would he even want it? Why would you want something that somebody killed and allowed themselves in? Guess what? The Ring doorbell camera at the home was unlinked 2 days before Crystal's death on February the 7th or 8th-ish, 2023. Crystal's location data on her husband's Google account showed discrepancies in his stated timeline the day of her death, which we've already went over. The timeline is crazy. Let's go over the timeline in more detail. I'm going to map it. When I do I'm going to do a long form content on this story so that you can see on the map the timelines. So let's recap the timeline so we understand where Tony was that day. He claimed he left home at 8, but he actually left home at 8:06 a.m. According to Google, his phone moving. Tony claimed to drive to Darren Billings' house around 8:45 a.m. That's when he said he got there, but he didn't get there until 8:54. Tony claimed he talked to Crystal on the phone for 15 to 20 minutes starting at 10:06, and he reportedly told the police that the call lasted a few minutes. So I don't even know, did they look at phone records to make sure that she talked at 6:08? Because if her phone actually answered and there was a conversation, then that means that her death occurred sometime after 10:06 a.m. So 15 to 20 minute phone call is a lot longer than just a few minutes, like he's blowing it off. We have 167 blowing it off. We have 167,000 likes in here. You guys are amazing. We have 150 souls. Keep doing your thing. Keep doing your thing. It's because of you. Today's live goal is 10 I love you hearts. We have 4 of the 10 in case you would like to send one. We are talking about the Crystal McCroy Jones case, T. Webster. All right, so good old Tony, he's, doing his thing. He's talked to her according to him. Now, Tony reportedly told police that Crystal sounded normal versus he told somebody else at the police department she sounded sleepy. And wow, what a comment to say. Don't you think that she sounded sleepy? When what does Benadryl to you? It makes you sleepy. So isn't he establishing to me, she must have been on that Benadryl because she sounded sleepy to me at a time when you're not supposed to be sleepy, in the morning when you're getting up to start your day. You see where I'm going with that? It seems like everything is put into his narrative. That's right, Nicole. I totally agree. Right. Yes. Who takes that much Benadryl to go to a doctor's appointment? She was either going to plan to stay home and sleep on Benadryl, or she was going to go to the doctor. Not one way or the other. and you don't get ready and put your makeup on and stuff just to take some Benadryl. Where did all that Benadryl come from? Figure Me Out says he didn't let family do a viewing first at a funeral home. Sound familiar? The Google timeline shows Tony at 5500 Candace Lane, beginning at 9:59 a.m. So this is going to be 6 minutes after the phone call. So, or according to Google, during the phone call, because it lasted 15 to 20 minutes. So at this location, he's still supposed to be on the phone with her. Google timeline shows him arriving at work, the address of the sheriff's department. So he had a job to do there, according to him, at 10:53 a.m. and staying until 11:09 a.m. Here's my question. Where was he between 9:59 a.m. and 10:53 a.m.? It's a long time. I don't know. Did you slip some Benadryl in your wife's drink that morning and she passed out on the bed and you knew right where she was and you knew she was asleep? Did you run home, put that pillow over her head allegedly and do it allegedly, and run out the door and get back over to the sheriff's department to get your job done? The 20-minute stop at the sheriff's office was not mentioned by Tony or police in any conversation until it was needed, they needed it. The police report written by Alan Irby, the deputy, reported sadly that Tony got a haircut before going to the Bakery Barn, which is a restaurant. But Tony's police statement reportedly does not mention getting a haircut after the bank at all. And it shows him at the sheriff's office during a time frame that would make a haircut unlikely. There's no time. There would be no time. That's right, Mama. Look, I feel like he did set up his alibi. Now we're going back, and I know this would be easier with a map, and that's why I'm going to try to map it and make a long content for him. Google timeline shows driving from work at 11:09 a.m. That's going to be the sheriff's office. Arriving at the restaurant at 11:11 a.m. and staying until 11:53. So you're telling me that between 11:09 a.m. and 11:11 a.m., which is 2 whole minutes, he was able to stop and get a haircut? Well, he leaves the Bakery Barn, got his tummy all full. Now he's going to Forest High School, his next job. And he was there from 12:01 p.m. until 2:43 p.m. And that's when he said he got his daughter from school instead of letting her ride the bus. And then they went to Sonic, and then they went to the martial arts studio. But they wasn't there. The Google data shows that he went to a Walmart after Sonic, staying at the Walmart until 4:11 p.m. Five minutes after leaving Walmart, instead of just driving the other 5 minutes home, he calls the doctor's office at 4:16 to see if she made it. And he claimed he asked for a welfare check because he was at the studio, but the places that he's reported at by Google data is an address in Oak Grove from 4:11 to 4:37 p.m. Not at the studio. I'm going to leave you with this one. I'm going to leave this for you to think about until we talk about this again. Three minutes after he called the doctor's office to check in to see if she'd made it, he Googled the term East Carroll Medical Center. He Googled East Carroll Medical Center before he knew that she had passed away, which is odd. So, I guess it's the medical center in East Carroll or West Carroll Parish, wherever they were. So, to sum this up from a prosecution standpoint, if I were a prosecution attorney, I would bring up the discrepancies in the timeline. I would bring up the timing of the Google search, like the search for East Carroll Medical Center at 4:19, shortly before he was informed of her death, which was at 4:41. So you're talking about 30 minutes prior to him finding out he's Googling the medical center. And that goes against the claim of when he called the doctor's office. It said nothing about Googling the medical center, by the way. Let's talk about the decision to request a welfare check. I would bring that up. Even though he was only 10 minutes away from home where he could have went and checked himself. Maybe because he knew what he was going home to. What do you think? Checking daughter out of school when she normally rode the bus. Did he know something was there for her to find? And did he want to protect his daughter from that? That's why he took her with him instead of letting her get off the bus and find it for herself. But if that's the case, why didn't he drop the daughter off at someone's house and go home after he found out instead of taking her home with him where she saw it anyway? I'd bring up state of mind. Crystal was found in her robe and underwear with eyeliner on, like I said, ready to go. To me, it looks like she was getting ready and someone came home. Someone came home while Crystal was getting ready in her robe, in her eyeliner, and put her on the bed and put the pillow over her face. There's no charges, Tina. There's a petition to get the investigation reopened. I would bring up the multitude of autopsy issues. Like they got her hair color wrong, her eye color wrong, her name wrong, her birthday wrong, declassification or wrong classification of bruises versus pulling. The missing fingernail. Who in here, let me know, just be honest with me. Who in here has lost an complete entire fingernail just getting ready to go to the doctor? Like the whole thing. Not like a little break on the side. The whole thing. Anybody ever done that? Let's talk about the handling of Crystal's ashes. Tony reportedly refused to let the funeral home divide the ashes or mail them to Crystal's son and insisted on doing it himself. The ashes arrived loose in the urn, barely covering the bottom, with no documentation, and the package was left outside in the mailbox without a signature. They left Crystal in a box with no label that it was her in the mailbox. Human ashes. Well, let's talk about Tony's past for just a minute. Let's see if we can get to 200,000 likes. I believe y'all can. We have 150 souls in the room. Yes, her whole fingernail, not the end, her whole fingernail. This was nothing but skin. Jennifer Starnes, Tony's ex, filed a protective order against Tony Jones in 2002. Alleged physical abuse, including slapping, punching, choking, kicking, and stalking. One incident described for March 31st involved Tony beating on her door, screaming, using obscene language, and threatening to break down the door and hurt her. Another incident from around March of 99 involved him grabbing her arm and throwing her to the ground. A month later, he reportedly grabbed and choked her. So he's an alleged abuser. But let's talk about motive. Why on earth would Tony want his wife dead? You see, Tony allegedly had an affair with a minor child. "17-year-old Caitlin Petrus, they met at her family store. There were no charges because age of 17 is consent in Louisiana, so they couldn't press charges, but she's still a minor, and he still had an affair with her. Crystal was getting close to the truth. She was about to find out about Caitlin, or she had just found out or already knew. Financial issues, huge motive that we see in a lot of relationships. Right, Toodalooty, she knew too much. Tony's divorce records from Shanna Lynn Jones, his ex, indicate that he had low reported income, versus $738 for the month versus his expenses of $1,520 a month. This was back in 2017. He was ordered to pay a significant sum of $20,000 plus, and he was held in contempt with a suspended sentence, which was conditioned on payments. Why is this, and what does this got to do with Crystal? Because he tried to cash in on a $65,000 life insurance policy that Crystal had taken out at her new job. He didn't get it, though, because she hadn't been there long enough, and the policy hadn't kicked in. But he didn't know that. He thought she had at least $65,000. Wow, he could pay off his bill, not be in contempt, and have some to go on vacation. There's also evidence suggesting he was operating as a contractor without a license in 2023, despite his company's registration being revoked in 2018. Invoices show work billed to Forest High School around the time of Crystal's unaliving. Could be a setup. The sheriff himself has called Tony a chronic liar, And that happened at less than a month before Crystal's death. The pathologist explained that the bruising observed, that's the other point, was it bruises or pulling? I think we could tell by the photos that it's bruises. I've seen the photos. To me, they're bruises. We're about to reach 200,000 likes, and I want to know what you're thinking. But my goal with this case is to find opportunity. I'm going to map it and see. And I also would like to know, at any time, did the Google phone map him back to the house?